We've all been there, right? Staring at an exam paper. But have you ever really stopped to think about the questions themselves? Turns out they're not just random hurdles to jump over. They're actually part of a pretty fascinating design science. So today, let's pull back the curtain on the art of the question. So let me ask you this. You ever walk out of an exam and you just feel frustrated? Like the questions had absolutely nothing to do with what you spent weeks, maybe even months trying to learn? Yeah, we've all been there. And that feeling, that exact frustration, is at the very heart of what we're going to talk about. Because a truly great test does more than just see what you can remember. It's like a precision instrument, and it's designed to reveal genuine, deep understanding. How that instrument is built? Well, that makes all the difference. So let's take a closer look. So what does a test really measure? Honestly, it all comes down to the questions it asks. The quality of any exam, and I mean any exam, hinges on one thing: making sure the question perfectly matches what you're supposed to be learning. Okay, so questions basically fall into two big families. On one side, you've got objective questions. Think multiple choice, true, false, there's one right answer. They're super efficient for covering a lot of ground. And on the other side, constructed response questions. This is where you write an essay or solve a complex problem. The whole point is to show your thought process. And here's the real difference. One measures what you know, and the other measures what you can do with what you know. So first up in our little assessment toolkit are those objective questions. You can think of these as the foundation. They're designed to quickly and efficiently check if you've got a solid grasp on the essential facts and the core concepts. And of course, here's the most famous one of all, the multiple choice question. It's incredibly efficient, no doubt. But here's the catch. A poorly designed one just tests your short-term memory. A great one, though, uses these clever wrong answers, called distractors, to really test if you can tell the difference between very similar ideas. Now take a look at this number, 50%. What do you think that represents? Well, it's your odds of just guessing the right answer on a simple true or false question. And that right there, that highlights the biggest weakness of this question type. It's basically a coin flip if you don't know the answer. And here are a few more of those rapid-fire question types. True, false, great for a quick fact check, but that 50-50 guessing problem is real. Fill in the blank is tougher. It forces you to recall something without any clues at all. And matching? Excellent for seeing if you can connect related ideas, though it can sometimes just reward memorization. You see? Every tool has a specific job, but it also has its trade-offs. Okay, now let's level up. We're going to shift from what you know to what you can actually do. These next tools are all about measuring skill, your ability to take knowledge and put it into action. These questions are designed to get at what educators call higher-order thinking. We're moving way beyond simple recall here. We're talking about application, analysis, evaluation, and even creation. In other words, can you take everything you've learned and use it to tackle a problem you've never, ever seen before? The classic show your work question. You see these all the time in math, science, and engineering. Sure, the final answer matters, but the real test is in your step-by-step logic. It proves you actually understand the process and didn't just stumble into the right answer by luck. Now the case study. This is a powerful one. You see it a lot in business, law, and medical schools. It's basically your bridge from the classroom to the real, messy world. You get a complex scenario and you're asked to think like a professional, figure out what's wrong, and what you do about it. So how in the world do you approach a case study? It's really a three-step game plan. First, you have to dig through all the information and separate the signal from the noise. Next, you pinpoint the real problem, not just the symptoms on the surface. And finally, you propose a solution, and you back it up with hard evidence from the case. It's a true test of your analytical chops. All right, let's switch gears and talk about a more modern approach that's getting pretty popular, the open book exam. And, it's probably not what you think it is. Because this is the common thinking, right? You've got all the answers right there at your fingertips. It's got to be an easy A, right? Well, not so fast. An open book exam totally flips the script. The test isn't about what you can remember. It's about how well you can find, judge, and apply information when the clock is ticking. Honestly, it's a much better simulation of how we all work in the real world, because we almost always have our resources handy. So, from a simple true/false all the way up to a complex case study, what are the universal principles that make any question a good question? Well, it turns out any quality question really rests on four main pillars. Is it valid? Does it actually measure what it's supposed to? Is it reliable? Does it give you consistent results? Is it fair? Is it free from any kind of bias? And finally, is it clear? Is the question impossible to misunderstand? Getting all four of those right is a real feat of engineering. And this idea really highlights the core principle of great test design. It's often called reverse design. You see, you don't start by writing questions. You start with the goal. You ask, what should a student be able to do after this? And then you build the question that lets them show you they can do it. It's a simple idea, but it's absolutely brilliant. So, as we start to wrap this up, it's pretty clear that a good assessment is so much more than just a letter grade on a piece of paper. It's really a snapshot of a learning journey. If there's one key takeaway, it's this. A great assessment is like a craftsman's toolkit. It doesn't just use a hammer for every job. It uses a whole variety of tools, objective questions for knowledge, constructed response for skills, all to build a complete, detailed picture of what someone truly understands. And all of this leaves us with one last and maybe the most important question. If we really understand the power of a well-designed question, how can we start using tests not just to measure what someone has learned, but to actually spark the curiosity and the critical thinking that fuels a lifetime of learning? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us.